So the news here lately has been dominated by the story of this Rahaf Mohammad, a Saudi Arabian teenage girl who fled, supposedly seeking asylum in Australia, was stopped in Thailand. Then she locked herself in an airport hotel room and started a viral social media campaign which succeeded in getting her asylum and refugee status or something like that in Canada. And there's been some reaction to this in Canada and some discussion of this in Canada. What's interesting and surprising, and I think you will agree concerning and problematic, is that this discussion in Canada, the bounds of acceptable discourse seem to extend from, yeah, of course we had to let her in because she was in danger and she was mistreated, but what does this mean for the future? What precedent does this set? Do we have to let in all Muslim women now? To, yeah, of course we had to let her in because it was an emergency and she was in danger, and by the way, let in all the other Muslim women too. So not only is this an incredibly narrow range of acceptable discussion points and opinions in Canada, but it's also incredibly Islamophobic because it's based on some very unflattering and frankly untrue assumptions about an entire religion and an entire country and an entire category of countries. I mean, it's just assumed that because she was from an Islamic country and she was a woman, that she was in danger and she was mistreated. But that is a very Islamophobic assumption. And Islam is a religion of peace, so she probably just had a loving family, a loving situation, family situation, a loving home in her Islamic country. And, who knows what the real story is. She looks well fed, she looks well cared for. There's apparently nothing physically the matter with her. And, it's basically just her word against theirs. Her father and brother were on the way to Thailand to pick her up, to retrieve her. And that was cited by some as a case for urgency, but it seems even more consistent to me with the behavior of concerned kin, just trying to retrieve their wayward daughter. And so, nothing intrinsically worrying about that. It is their word against hers. In Islamic jurisprudence, that's like 4-1, because the word of a woman, and to challenge that point of Islamic jurisprudence in Canada would be against the law. All right, because it is against the law in Canada to question or criticize Islam or blaspheme Islam, as I understand it. So, while I do applaud Canada for going to the extent of making blasphemy against Islam and criticism and question about Islam illegal in Canada, they're obviously not adhering to the spirit of that measure in giving voice uncritically, unquestioningly, to such blatant Islamophobic assumptions, and violating, fundamental principles of Islamic jurisprudence, which is almost as serious as her apostasy, Rahaf Mohammad's own apostasy, because she has renounced Islam, she wants to change her name. All right, and that's another point. Apostasy is not yet illegal in Canada, but blasphemy is. So it's going to be very hard for an apostate Muslim to live in Canada without falling afoul of these Canadian prohibitions on blaspheming or questioning or criticizing Islam. So they may not be doing her any favors, even if she were mistreated, which is an assumption for which there is no evidence. But if it were true, out of the frying pan into the fire. Now she's in Canada where she can't blaspheme Islam, where it's against the law, where she's at legal risk or liability. And how is she going to continue the life of an apostate without blaspheming or questioning or criticizing Islam? So may not have done her any favors there. There are some blatantly anti-Islamic, Islamophobic assumptions here within the full range of acceptable discourse on this question in Canada, which is really bizarre. For a country that is supposedly so tolerant and so inclusive and so welcoming of Islam, to have this kind of blatant Islamophobia be so normalized that it's absolutely beyond question. It's just taken for granted that because she's a woman in a Muslim country, she's going to be mistreated and in danger, and it's an emergency and she asked to be welcomed in. And, they do seem to be using this to set the precedent that, for bringing in more of these Muslim women, that Canada's mission in the world now is serving as a safe haven for Muslim women that are supposedly abused in Muslim countries. And not only is that a blatantly Islamophobic assumption, but it has some disturbing implications. If Canada is to be the safe haven now, what does that mean? They can't accept Muslim men? They have to scrutinize or exclude Muslim men to prevent them from, making this safe haven less safe? Where's this going to lead? What kind of Islamophobic policies are these Islamophobic assumptions going to lead to? Because I think we would all agree that that is totally beyond the pale. That is not acceptable, Canada. What are you doing? You're fucking up. Come on, Canada, get it together. There's definitely a disconnect here somewhere in the Canadian thinking. And, for a country that issues so many paeans and platitudes to diversity and inclusion and tolerance and becoming Muslim, is Canada going to have to give up the age-old traditional Canadian value of becoming a Muslim country now? If Muslim women supposedly aren't safe in Muslim countries, does that mean Canada can't be a Muslim country? Because becoming a Muslim country is a age-old traditional Canadian value. This is un-Canadian. These kind of points of view, these kind of assumptions, frankly, are un-Canadian. If it leads to conclusions, ridiculous conclusions like Canada can't become a Muslim country, because then it can't be a safe haven for Muslim women, because Muslim women aren't safe in Muslim countries. That's where this kind of prejudice leads. Canada, get it together. You disgust me. Seriously, there's something going on here. There's some kind of disconnect. There's some kind of contradiction in Canadian thinking to where, and they're not critical of it. The political class, the pundit class, the ordinary Canadians, it's like they don't even see these glaring contradictions. Like they're totally pro-Islam out of one side of their mouth and totally anti out of the other. Doesn't make any sense. I applaud them for making blasphemy illegal and criticism of Islam, which, by the way, puts this Rahaf Mohammad at risk as an apostate, because how is she going to live in Canada as an apostate Muslim without blaspheming or questioning or criticizing Islam? So, fleeing some kind of supposed danger or alleged danger, now she's exposed to the very real legal liability and risk that she may violate Canadian law by questioning or criticizing or contradicting Islam. But, Canadians have already violated Canadian law by assuming she's in danger in the first place. And, by making a Canadian mission, part of the Canadian mission to serve as a safe haven for Muslim women in the world. And, all of these other things. So, definitely something weird going on in Canada. I don't really know what it is. If you know, maybe put that in the comments below. But more questions than answers here. I'm a little confused. And I'm a little concerned. I hope you are as well. I will be making another video from my Patreon where I explore some of the other risks that this raises for Canada in the future. Some possibly even more serious risks than bigotry and intolerance. And, you can check that video out. I'll put it for my patrons. There's no lower limit, no lower threshold there. So $1 a month gets you access to that. But I'll see you over there.